A South Korean company, founded in 1999, has just launched a humanoid robot that could completely change the rules of the game. It's not Tesla, it's not Boston Dynamics, and it's not Chinese. Robotis has just unveiled the AI Sapiens K0, a humanoid with open-source code, embedded artificial intelligence, and an estimated price between $8,000 and $12,000, less than an entry-level car. What nobody expected is that the company behind the most widely used actuators in robotics laboratories around the world would make this move now, exactly when the race for humanoid robots has truly heated up. Stay until the end. What you're about to discover about this robot will change the way you see who is going to win this race. Want to understand everything? Then watch the video all the way through and I'll explain it all. But first, leave your like and subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll stay informed about the latest news in robotics. Imagine you work at an engineering university in a robotics laboratory with a limited budget. You want to develop research with humanoid robots, the ones that walk on two legs, manipulate objects, and learn tasks through observation. But the few models available on the market cost tens of thousands of dollars, are closed, proprietary, and any modification requires negotiation with the manufacturer. This scenario is about to change, and the news comes from where few people expected it. The South Korean company, Robotis, revealed to the world the AI Sapiens K0, its first humanoid robot oriented toward research and development, with a characteristic that sets it apart from the vast majority of competitors. It is completely open source, meaning any researcher, company, or developer can access, study, modify, and improve its software without restrictions imposed by the manufacturer. Robotis is not a newcomer to the world of robotics. Founded in 1999 in Seoul, the company built its reputation over more than 2 decades manufacturing the so-called Dynamixel actuators, intelligent components that function as the joints of a robot, integrating motor, speed reducer, sensor, and controller into a single compact module. These components are present in the laboratories of MIT and Carnegie Mellon University, in military projects, and even behind the scenes at Disney Imagineering, the Disney Research division that brought to life the famous character Olaf from the Frozen franchise, transformed into an animatronic robot in 2025. When a company with this track record announces its own humanoid, the market stops and pays attention. The AI Sapiens K0 stands 1.30 meters tall and weighs 34 kilograms, dimensions that place it in the category of compact humanoids, ideal for laboratory and office environments. It has 23 degrees of freedom, meaning 23 independent joints capable of moving in a coordinated manner, a number sufficient to walk, maintain balance, and perform basic manipulation tasks. Each of these joints is driven by the company's own Dynamixel actuators, which already have a proven reputation in high-demand applications. What makes this launch even more relevant is the context in which it takes place. The humanoid robot market is experiencing an unprecedented moment of excitement. According to data from ABI Research, the global humanoid market is expected to reach $6.5 billion by the end of the decade, growing at an annual rate of 138% between 2024 and 2030. Morgan Stanley projects that the sector could reach $5 trillion by 2050, with more than 1 billion units in use. In 2025, Unitree, the competing Chinese company, shipped 5,500 units of its G1 and plans to scale up to 20,000 in 2026. Tesla is talking about 50,000 units of Optimus still this year. The race is underway, and Robotis has just entered with an unexpected move. The company has not yet confirmed a launch date or definitive price, but initial estimates point to a range between $8,000 and $12,000, which, if confirmed, would place the AI Sapiens K0 among the most accessible humanoids ever announced, with technical specifications oriented toward research. To understand why the AI Sapiens K0 matters, it is necessary to go beyond the numbers on the spec sheet and understand what is under the hood, and why Robotis' engineering choices reveal a clear strategy. The brain of the robot runs on an 8-core processor with ARM architecture, the same type of chip used in modern smartphones and in high-energy efficiency embedded systems. In addition to the main processor, the K0 features a Mali GPU for graphics and, most importantly, an NPU, a chip made specifically to run artificial intelligence. Think of it as a dedicated assistant whose sole purpose is to make artificial intelligence work faster and with less effort. With this, the robot is able to process artificial intelligence information directly in its own hardware, without needing to connect to any external server. For a robot that needs to react to the world around it in fractions of a second, this makes all the difference. The battery provides between 1 and 2 hours of continuous operation per charge, a modest figure, but compatible with research and development sessions in a laboratory setting. The K0's learning system combines 2 complementary approaches that are at the cutting edge of modern robotics. The first is imitation learning. The robot observes human movements, either through direct demonstrations or via videos, and attempts to reproduce them. The second is reinforcement learning. The robot repeatedly attempts to perform a task, receiving positive feedback signals when it succeeds and negative ones when it fails, until it optimizes its behavior. These two techniques, combined, are today the industry standard for training robots in complex tasks. But there is a technical detail that deserves special attention: the process called simulation to reality. Before any movement is executed on the physical robot, a digital twin, a precise virtual copy of the K0, practices the movements in a computational simulation environment. Training the robot in simulation prevents the hardware from being damaged during the learning process and, moreover, speeds everything up. In just a few hours of computing, the robot goes through experiences that would take weeks or months in the real world. When it reaches a good level of performance in the virtual environment, what has been learned is transferred to the physical robot. Companies like Unitree and several academic laboratories already adopt this strategy with increasingly impressive results. Robotis' big bet, however, lies in the total openness of the code. Unlike most competitors, who either sell closed platforms or only make parts of the software available, the company promises to release everything: source code, mechanical design files, integration documentation. This turns the K0 into a starting point for anyone who wants to build on top of it. A researcher can modify the control algorithms. A startup can adapt the hardware for a specific application. A university can create its own advanced robotics course with a robot that students can understand from top to bottom. Another relevant aspect is the track record of the Dynamixel actuators that equip the K0. These components have already been tested in demanding environments, from Disney animatronic parts to military platforms, which gives the developer community a solid foundation of trust in the hardware. Unlike humanoids that emerge as completely new projects, the K0 is born into an ecosystem of already validated and documented components. The question that remains is, what happens when a platform like this falls into the hands of thousands of researchers at the same time? The answer may surprise even the most optimistic. The AI Sapiens K0 arrives at a moment when the main barrier to entry in humanoid research is no longer theory. It is the cost of hardware. If the estimated price of $8,000 to $12,000 is confirmed, universities in emerging countries, small technology companies, and laboratories with restricted budgets will for the first time have access to a complete bipedal platform with embedded artificial intelligence and fully open code. This could significantly accelerate the pace of discoveries in applied robotics, in the same way that Linux democratized software development in the 2000s. For sectors such as logistics, healthcare, and industry, which are eagerly awaiting reliable and affordable robots, this movement signals that the market's inflection point may be closer than analysts had predicted. To assess the true significance of the AI Sapiens K0, it is necessary to hear it in the context of those who understand the subject and compare it with the competitors already in the field. From a technical standpoint, the K0's positioning makes sense. Robotis is not competing for space with the large industrial humanoids, such as the Atlas from Boston Dynamics, which costs around $420,000, or the Figure 03 from Figure AI, which received $1 billion in investment and works in partnership with BMW. The K0 targets a different audience: researchers and developers, a segment today dominated by the Unitree G1. The G1 is, in many respects, the market benchmark for accessible humanoids. Manufactured by the Chinese company Unitree Robotics, the G1 stands 1.27 meters tall, weighs 35 kilograms, dimensions almost identical to those of the K0, and has between 23 and 43 degrees of freedom depending on the configuration. The basic model starts at $16,000, but the more complete versions, with a development kit and more precise hands, can exceed $27,000. Even so, the G1 has been gaining ground rapidly. In 2025, Unitree sold 5,500 units and plans to sell nearly 4 times more in 2026. Last year alone, more than 30 scientific papers were published using the G1 as a platform. Universities are already working with it. In March 2026, Unitree took a further step by opening part of its code to the public, launching a system that allows the robot to understand commands in everyday language and perform day-to-day tasks, such as tidying up the house. This is the central point of the comparison. The G1 is powerful and already established in the market, but full access to its development tools only comes with the more expensive versions. The K0 promises the opposite: everything open from the very beginning, without charging extra for it. If the promise is fulfilled, researchers who need freedom to experiment will find in the K0 a real alternative. But the G1 is not the only competitor. The open humanoid market is growing. Agibot, from Shanghai, launched the X1, a fully open bipedal platform aimed at research. In the field of semi-open platforms, the French Ricci 2, from Pollen Robotics, draws attention for its partnership with Hugging Face, the world's largest repository of artificial intelligence models. What differentiates the K0 from these initiatives is the combination of 3 factors rarely found together: the credibility of 25 years of industrial components tested in the field, the total openness of the code, and an estimated price that places it below many competitors with comparable specifications. If Robotis delivers on what it promised, the K0 could become the Linux of humanoid robotics, not the most powerful, but the most replicable, adaptable, and widely adopted. The K0 still has clear limitations. The battery lasts between 1 and 2 hours. the same as what the G1 offers, but with a much more mature technical support structure behind it. The K0's processor also does not have the same computing power as the NVIDIA chips found in the more advanced versions of the G1. And without a confirmed launch date, any comparison is still, to some extent, speculation. What robotics experts have observed is that open platforms tend to create a positive cycle. More developers generate more data, which improves artificial intelligence models, which attract even more developers. It was exactly this effect that transformed Linux into the standard server system and Android into the most widely used mobile operating system in the world. Robotis is betting that the same can happen with the K0. And given the company's track record in the Dynamixel ecosystem, it is not a bet without foundation. The launch of the AI Sapiens K0 by Robotis is, above all, a signal that the race for humanoid robots is entering a new phase, no longer dominated solely by billion-dollar startups and large corporations, but also by infrastructure companies that, silently, built the pieces that move the entire industry. By opening its humanoid to the world, Robotis is not merely launching a product. It is betting on a model of collective development that could, over the coming years, accelerate the progress of the sector in a way that no single company could achieve alone. But the question that remains is inevitable. If anyone in the world, from an engineering student to a billion-dollar startup, can access, modify, and build on the AI Sapiens K0, who will truly reap the fruits of this openness? The researchers who will develop innovative applications, or the companies that will use this collective knowledge to launch closed, proprietary products? Leave your answer in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, leave your like and subscribe to the channel. That way, you will always receive notifications of new videos. Until next time.